Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, everybody?
What
Hey, what's up? What's up? Yo,
Come
yo,
through.
yo.
Hey,
Can we
hello
all hear each
everyone.
other?
Hello.
I can,
Yes.
Oh,
Can.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yes.
Jonathan, are you good now?
We are good. We can hear everybody. There we
Bro, I
go.
think that was your iPhone. You know what? I'm so over iPhone users. I'm just gonna put that out there right now before we get started because
Oh,
I don't have time for these folks. Sean,
Oh
are you
my
there?
goodness.
Y'all, Sean is still trying to get her life together. Sean is still
Uh,
trying to get her life together. Sean, what's
Sean is
going
Sean
on,
is
y'all?
muted. Sean probably can't even hear us.
Oh no.
Well, she's on mute. Sean.
Oh, poor Sean. Poor Sean. Just want to like flag him down. Like, hey,
The
we don't
fact,
need to.
Sean, can you hear us, Sean? Are you there, Sean? Mute, unmute. Dude, Sean has frozen up. Okay. So
That's a good face to freeze with, though. That's a good facial expression to
Yes.
freeze with. Come
that
on,
works.
right there.
yeah.
Yeah, that is
It could have
perfect.
been a whole
This
lot
is
worse. It could have been a whole lot worse.
Okay. Sean, if you can hear us, log off and come back on, dear. We're gonna get things cracking. This, technical difficulties always happen, which is why it's always awesome to, come in and figure this stuff out because you know, it's technical issues and stuff, and we're perfect. But anyhow, like literally, she's frozen. So, Sean, if you can hear us, log off and come back on. Um,
Poor, poor
y'all,
Sean.
what's going on? I see folks are coming in. Um, see, um, man, y'all, I'm so happy, y'all, that y'all took the time out to be a part of the panel. I don't know if you've watched all the other panels or not, but we it's an open dialogue where we literally just talk about racism, things that are going on in the world. And I remember when I first started this. Okay, she's on. Hold on. Are you there, Sean?
Yeah, I'm here. I gotta I was trying to figure out what the problem was. I couldn't hear you guys.
Uh,
Wow. Can you turn your volume up just a little bit, Sean?
And it's still
That's
it's
okay.
still jumping around. So I was like, maybe I need to leave.
Well, we don't. Well, no, you good because you good. It's okay. It's just an iPhone. That's all that is. Y'all don't want to acknowledge that, but it's okay. I'm gonna keep throwing that out there because I have all iPhone
What?
users on here. So I'm gonna just keep throwing that out
hmm
there. Anywho,
we we
so
gonna
Sean,
respect the platform today. That's right.
hey, listen, this is
Because
this is like
I have a few
unfiltered,
choices.
bro. This is straight unfiltered. So y'all will see me going looking down all the time because I have my phone. I read comments and questions that people send me all the time. I have ever since I started this panel, I receive messages all the time. I receive crazy messages, good, bad, and ugly. People telling me I need to stick to worship, leading worship rather than doing what I'm doing, um, and to honor my gift rather than trying to talk about what we're talking about. These are Christians, by the way. So I just believe that the church itself, we've got to talk about this stuff, man. We have to talk about it, and I do appreciate you guys for just taking time out of your schedules to to be a part of an important conversation, a hard conversation um, about real life issues when it comes to racism, systemic racism, police brutality, um, and even though people don't want to acknowledge it, systemic racism is definitely in the church as well, and we got to talk about this stuff, y'all. She's on another one. Let me see. Hold on.
Oh,
Wow.
oh,
Sean, are you there? Okay. Eventually she'll get it. So before we even get
Yes, but I
started, y'all,
can't hear anything. It's just going in and out.
wow. I'm sorry, Sean. But before we get started, David, we always ask someone to open up in prayer, and then when we end, always ask someone to close in prayer. And of course, I asked David and to open, I asked Sean to close. So Dave, can you open us up in prayer before we even start the convo, please?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for this incredible opportunity to be able to glorify your name through this panel and through this discussion. Thank you for everybody involved. Thank you for everybody tuning in. I pray that you open up eyes, you open up hearts to receive, you open up our ears to listen. May we be receptive to your Holy Spirit, and we commit this time to you. We commit this time to you, Father, for your glory and for your name. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Amen. Can you hear us, Sean?
Amen. Come on, Sean. I know you didn't miss my prayer.
Well, are you there, Sunshine? Y'all, and Sean has I really want folks to hear what Sean has to say as well. But, I always, I'm hosting the platform, so I just open up a little introduction with something, whatever that may be. So I'll start with how I had to rechannel my emotions, because in the beginning, I was allowing everything around me to literally get the best of me. I mean, literally, y'all, it was like the more videos I watched, the more inbox messages I was receiving, the more posts I was reading on my feed, the more angrier I became, and bitterness literally started to flow. Like it was starting to come. I mean anger towards everybody. So it was like whatever, I want to cuss some folks out. I'm gonna just be honest. I really want to cuss some folks out. And one morning I woke up and I picked up my phone like normal, like I would normally do, and I'm like, I'm gonna see what ignorance is on this feed today, because I got addicted to like trying to see who was posting ignorant things. It was just something that I was obsessed with it. It's like I was waiting for somebody to say something so I can comment back and literally lash out at them. You know what I mean? Then literally God put me in check. I'm not even going to kid y'all. I woke up to pick my phone up, and it was like God said, not today, not today. Take time out for me. Take time out for me and just spend time with me. So I didn't get on social media like the whole day until the panel. And I remember just worshiping him, and I was crying out to God. It was literally a prayer that I was praying to him, like, God, help me, because I'm losing it. Like we're hurting, we're broken, we're angry, we're upset. Like we're tired of seeing the stuff that's going on, And after that, it was either allow these things to overtake me or remain in the place of wanting to cuss folks out or be a part of the solution and be the change that I want to see. So I choose to be a part of the solution. So, with that being said, although this platform is an open dialogue, although it's a hard conversation to have, we have to continue to have these hard conversations. I say, since we're the church, let's make a difference. Let's come together. Let's bring unity. And the reason why I like having a diverse panel is because it's not about white versus black or blacks versus Hispanic, but it's everyone versus racism. And so if we can come together, and then we can really, one community at a time, one person at a time, whatever that may look like. Because I have white friends on my feed that you guys don't know, and vice versa. So it's like, in an effort to create change, let's start with the conversation. So with that being said, let's talk. And I'm just gonna throw out a question, something that somebody has said. And it's always like, hey, let's chime in. Please, please, please feel free to say what's on your heart, share your stories. There are a lot of white friends and white people who really want to learn, who really want to listen. And y'all, poor Sean, she's off again. But anyhow, someone's made this comment. And so I'm going to read this, and feel free to chime in, whoever want to go first. But someone says, white slaves were sold for centuries. All of our ancestors took slaves, sold slaves, and were slaves. You are not special.
Mm.
That was bold. That right there was bold. And as you can see, like I chose to not entertain those conversations like that anymore because it was mentally and emotionally draining for me. The more and more I was literally responding to everybody. What would you say to that person? Anybody, y'all all can chime in on this one.
David, you look ready. Go on ahead. I mean, listen, it's not only is it bold, it's just the direct, like directly disrespectful. Like to add that at the end, like you are not special, is a slap in the face, right? Granted, I do think that there's some truth to the beginning part of that comment. Like I think that throughout the generations, like there have been multiple, races and people groups that have been enslaved. But to say that this segment or this particular portion of the population is not special because of that, like, yo, that's just downright rude, mean, disrespectful, all of the above. It's just a plain sign of like bigotry and the hatred and sin that's inside of, some folks' hearts. Like they're looking to stir up anger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Was that a comment? Because I know nobody said that like in public without getting hit.
This was posted. Not. This was literally posted on my feed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was and I get this a lot. And if I was to delete people out, honestly, it would only be probably Black folks on there and no church folks, because it's mainly church people that are posting these kinds of comments. Honestly, mm-hmm. It's sad. It's the church. It's either how dare you talk about Trump, or how dare you talk. It's a lot. So I literally keep those comments because I save them for the panel to have these discussions. And I post a flyer hoping that the persons who post these comments will actually tune in to the conversation. You know what I'm saying?
So to go back to that comment though, let's just say that's true, right? Let's just say it's true that for generations, all types of people groups have been enslaved. Well, like wrong is wrong is wrong. Like if it was wrong then, it's still wrong now. You know what I'm saying? So like to even bring that up is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess my thing would be
it's even more wrong now because we know more. Because we are more educated than our ancestors, things like that. It should be even more wrong now. So I was horribly mean to say that. Just terrible.
Yeah. Byron?
No, I was just going to say, that exactly, Lauren. But I think the thing is, too, I think the end, just to say, you're not special, it just kind of goes to the point of being like, okay, yes, white people were enslaved for a portion of time, but, white people didn't have to sit in the back of the bus, or, white people didn't have to drink from a certain, type of white person fountain, only this type of white people can drink from this fountain, or only these type of white people can do this or do that or whatever. So at some point, it really didn't matter about a different person's color of skin unless you were Black or brown. So I think people choose to be ignorant, and I think that people choose to look away from the problem and not address that. Okay, we need to address that Black lives need to matter, because right now they don't. They just like to say, "Oh no, all lives matter." Where it's like saying, okay, but we're not. You're just trying to diminish what I'm saying again. You're trying to just throw down what I'm saying again, and it's crazy. I think for me, being a Black person and having white friends, and even having a white girlfriend who is so beautiful. Dang, that girl cute. I didn't. It's crazy for me to now have her family, and to be able to even have conversations with them, and to be able to understand, okay, so when this person says this, why do you think they say that? And then we're able to kind of bounce back off of and go back and forth on certain things. But I think people just choose to be ignorant, and and they just have decided a long time ago that this is how I'm going to think, this is how I'm going to do, and then we're just going to stick with that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I think at this point, people like that are just reaching. Like, you have run out of things to actually say, because the comment isn't really even worded well. So I feel like if you're going to come with facts and statements, at least word it, in a highly educational way. Yeah, I think everything is time sensitive. So if you look at the issue that we're trying to address is, white on black crime and police brutality. And people will bring up, well, you never hear about black on black crime, or you never hear about white on white crime, but that's because justice is being served in those situations. So there's no need to talk about that, because what's supposed to be done is happening. So, but when a white man, specifically a white police officer, kills somebody, and here recently it's been all black men or all black people in general, that is the issue that we're trying to address. And we are trying to do it by going back and finding these places in history that it has just followed us. We can trace it all the way back. And so even if there were different people groups enslaved back then, they're not anymore. There's still this one race that still deals with this on the daily. And, maybe they're not working for free labor on people's plantations, but it looks differently. And I feel like, white people that are saying these comments are really just reaching at this point. They're at a point of where they don't want to understand. And I feel like there was a part of me that was truly glad that when people like football players were peacefully protesting, that we didn't listen, because I feel like these necessary conversations are happening now. You are really getting to see people's hearts. You are really getting to see where everyone stands. And I feel like what is happening in our world, and specifically in our nation, is very necessary, because it is making a clear divide about where people stand as a whole and how people stand in your smaller circles that you do life with every day.
That's good. Seriously. Anybody else?
I mean, for me, I've had this conversation a lot with even some older people that I know. And it feels like, to me, it's becoming a political issue. People are just going to stick to their side no matter what. And sometimes even to the people that I'm talking to that I've known forever, I know they would never treat a person of color with that much disrespect. But when it comes to leaning on their side, it's like they lose their mind. And to me, that's an issue of pride, and it's one of those things where they're not listening. And I've had this conversation with some of these people, and I'm like, no, you're not listening. Let's throw away politics. I was like, black people are hurting. What does the Bible say when somebody's hurting? You comfort them. That's what the Holy Spirit does. The Holy Spirit is the comforter. So
make it plain, John. Make it plain.
It's so true.
So it's like, so when I explain to them that way, one of the things that we say is like, if a house is on fire and you call the cops, and the neighbors or the neighbor's going to say, well, all houses matter. You're gonna work on the house that's on fire, because that's the one that needs help. We're not saying that not all lives matter, and that's another thing that the political side has distorted everything, because they're thinking more of the Antifa group, the all lives matter group, and I'm like, no. First of all, we're just talking about black people in general. That's what we're talking about here. Let's not distort. What we're trying to do is reconciliation is what we're trying to achieve here. And I think that's the problem. Like, I think if we that's why conversation is so important. If you sit down and you talk to a person face to face, I think they'll be able to understand, where we're coming from.
Yep.
That's my 2 cents.
Man, that's super dope. What would you say to those who are saying, I'm fed up of being made to feel guilty about being white?
Well, I think that there's questions that, okay, so a white person may be intimidated by the word racist, racism, talking about it, dealing with it. And so altogether, you have silence from a lot of white people because it's not that they're racist, it's that they don't know how to tread those waters about that. Because what if I say the wrong thing? I don't know what it's like to be Black. So how could I say something against, how can I say something about racism just because it's easier to stay quiet? So it's hard because, and I'm not even all the way, I mean, I would say that even now, just talking about it, it does make me nervous because I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I know that there's always, I go back to the Bible every single time. Like, what does God say about his children to love? And we're supposed to go and be the light of the world. And it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Because if you can treat your neighbor with respect, it doesn't matter the color. You have got to go back to your roots, which is loving all people and being that light and that Christian who's deep and goes in deep with the Holy Spirit and walks daily in what God says. And so it is tough, to even talk about it. Like you said, having these conversations are so important for someone who is white listening and saying, how can I stand up for this and have my convictions all the while being sensitive and respectful of it. I don't know if I answered the question. What was the question?
Yeah.
Sounded good.
But
Sounded good to me.
because it's tough.
Yeah. No, but I'm glad you're speaking on that. Byron, you have something to say?
What was the question again?
What would you say to those, which, the white folks who are saying, all right, I'm fed up with being made to feel guilty that I'm white, about being white?
I think when white people say that, I think that is privilege in a sense. I think that straight from that, it just shows how automatically you feel like you shouldn't feel a certain way because of the way you look, and you are automatically not trying to actually understand what somebody that looks different from you is trying to say, but instead you're like, oh no, I can't, I don't want to think about it. And I think that is a form of white privilege, because for years Black and brown people have felt guilty about certain things. I can't do this because I can't listen to loud rap music because I know somebody might say something weird. Or I went to a private school with the majority. There was 2 Black kids besides my family, which there's like 40 of us, but besides my family, there was another Black kid that was in my school. So I know what it feels like to have everybody around you white. And so I would remember that, like, I just felt weird if I wore Jordans, or if I were to jam my music pulling into the parking lot, or if I were to automatically be like, oh no, this certain artist is my favorite artist, because 1, they didn't understand it, but then 2, I didn't want to be looked at a certain way because I know how that could be. So I've felt guilty for being Black. And so I think that for white people, I think the biggest thing is just like, hey, listen, just put your pride, kind of like what Jonathan said, put that down just for a second, take off your own mask, and then just sit and talk with somebody that's different with you. But here's the issue, and this is some of the things that me and Jordan were talking about, is that a lot of times they're not willing to do that because they don't have Black or brown people in their circle. So if you look at a lot of the people, leaders even that we've seen that have kind of said something or done something kind of not right, and then they automatically come back and apologizing, because they don't have many Black people in their circle. For an example, let's not talk about like spiritual leaders. We'll talk about Drew Brees, right? When Drew Brees came out and said that thing about like, I would never kneel, or whatever the case, I don't remember exactly what he said, but something like that. Literally 12 hours later, he came back and apologized because he got bashed for it. But then Black people were coming out being like, hey bro, let us explain to you why it's okay to do this, why it's okay to do that. But if he were to have a Black person in his circle, he would have never said that, because if he was doing life with this Black person, he would have known, oh wait, no, I don't feel like that. He never would have said that. And so I think that a lot of times the white people that feel that way is because they don't have Black or brown people in their circle. And you see the pastors that do, you see the leaders that do, because it's not that they say the right thing, but they say the thing that's coming from their heart. Like, they know, oh no, I don't feel like that because I have a black person that's my brother, or I have a Hispanic person that's my brother, or I have a this that I do life with, and so I don't feel that way because I do life with these people. So,
But I don't know when people say they do, but do they really do life with people? Do church folks really do life with the people? They're like, they say, oh, I have a multicultural church and we're very diverse, but are you really doing life?
okay, so no, so I'm with you. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking about actual life. I'm talking about actual life. I'm not talking about like we're a multicultural church, but then everybody on the staff is white and we got a whole bunch of black people in the audience. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
I'm talking about like straight up like doing life with people. Like I know some white pastors that like, I mean, like they send their kids over to their black friend's house and their black friends come over to their house. They do life together, like truly do life together. Not just like, oh, hey, like, you know, your kids can come over here, but I don't know if my kids can go over there because I don't know what neighborhood you live. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actually like doing life with people, not the fakes.
I mean, well, honestly, I always throw in church anyhow, and I think I'm going to do that every week just because, again, we are the church and we have to stand up for what's right. And we got to talk about this stuff. And although there are a lot of churches, shout out to the pastors in the churches that are really speaking up and saying, you know, speaking out about this. But there are a lot of churches who just still refuse to remain silent and saying all lives matter and it's one race and it's all about Jesus. And they're not really getting it. I mean, and I have a lot of pastor friends who I thought that, you know, would speak up and have yet to say anything. But they're either on my stories all the time, because I think I have way more people on stories than I do on my regular posts, and they are on there. And I'm talking pastors, but they have yet to say anything. They don't talk about it. And it's frustrating. And I want to call them out, but I'm like, you know what? I'm far past that now. It is what it is. I'm not fixing to keep wasting my breath. And you're not even trying to have a conversation. But since we are,
Because it doesn't affect them. Like, I think somebody said this the other day, like COVID-19 and racism go hand in hand. If it doesn't affect you, then you probably aren't worried about it. And so a lot of times, like, especially with the pandemic that we're in with COVID-19, people are kind of act like it's no big deal or whatever, because it doesn't affect them. So racism in the same way, until it affects you and until you see it firsthand or until you know somebody and love somebody that's going through it, you're not really worried about it. You just kind of like, you know, it's whatever. So it's those pastors to where you see where it really affects them and it really has gone on to them. That's why they go out and they voice their opinion on certain matters, because it truly affects them. And so I'm rambling. Somebody else talking.
No, you're not. I love the conversation. I definitely love the conversation, but I know that you guys are pastors, Byron, and I think you just relocated. You left Houston. You left us, right, bro?
I did, sadly. I'm sorry.
No, but since we are on the church real quick, what are some steps that pastors can take to show inclusion? And that's anybody can answer that.
I think that when you find issues in the church as far as pastors in general taking leadership, I have found, and I had spoke with my dad about this. My dad is also a pastor, that when it comes to white pastors, and I'm going to just speak from that side because I'm a white person, it seems like that, and this is for anybody, not just pastors, but a lot of people that are slow to speak out or don't know, they feel a certain way, but they don't say it, are people that feel like they have the most to lose. So bigger churches, bigger memberships, more of a diverse of like one particular group of people make up the numbers in their church. So what I have seen is that bigger churches or pastors that look across their congregation and the majority of their givers are this predominantly financially stable, wealthy white race. They feel like they have everything to lose. I feel like a lot of pastors that just started churches or new churches, they can speak out because they may only have 20 members. They're like, hey, this is how I feel. If these 20 people don't agree with me, well, that's it. But these pastors that are invested for years and their families literal financial, support relies on the giving of the church. I always see that when you feel like you have the most to lose, when you personally feel that about yourself and your situation, you will not say anything because you're tiptoeing. You don't want to offend or lose. And I feel like that's the issue, is that you're not doing what the Lord instructed us to do. You're not loving God and loving people. You're making a choice at the end of the day that benefits you the most. And that's the issue, is that you're not laying yourself aside and what could possibly happen to you as a pastor or as a leader to speak out against or to speak out for what is right, because there's that fear that everything could be swept out from underneath you, your status, your money, your finances, your church membership, the way people see you, your following. And at the end of the day, that's already a pride issue. Because it's not even supposed to be about that anyway. So racism is literally calling all of this out and just doing one sweep through at a time. And so I feel like that is kind of the issue that I've seen, especially with white pastors speaking out, is that the majority of them that have bigger churches or, things like that, they're slow because they don't want to offend anyone.
So does this mean that it's politics over the cross? I'm just.
I mean, I can't speak for every pastor, but I know that there are people, and in their hearts, I know that all pastors and all leaders don't have, I don't feel like are called to lead people or called to love people. A pastor is meant to shepherd and to love people and to stand for the benefit of the people and their hearts. So if you are leaning more toward a political side, then that's not what God defined the role of a pastor to be. You're not a pastor. You're not leading your people. You're not covering your people. You're not standing for every single member of your church.
And the other thing is just like, I don't understand. I guess for me, I hate how everything ends up being political. Like, I just feel like, I mean, it's a human rights, it's a civil justice issue, whatever, And so my thing is, when people make it political, I'm like, but why? Like, why are we jumping to that? No, don't get me wrong. This person that's a leader in office, or this person that's a leader in whatever government, whatever, he might feel or she might feel more prejudiced or more racist or whatever. But I'm just talking about you. Like, we're just talking me and you. I'm not talking about anybody else. Why do you feel like this? And then really break it down. I mean, Jesus really came in and did everything exactly opposite of what they thought he was going to do. And what they thought he was going to do was overturn the government. They thought he was going to come in and change everything and be like, wait, but he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God, which is mean y'all should just go ahead and let that alone. I'm worried about you. Like, I'm not even worried about what Caesar and them are doing. I'm solely worried about you and how you feel and your heart. I'm not looking at the outward appearance. I'm looking at your heart. So I hate how people go and make it political, because at the end of the day, it's a heart issue. Whoever you vote for, it doesn't matter. You can vote for Donald Trump and still believe that Black Lives Matter. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you can vote for whoever else and believe that all lives matter. So I'm not worried about that. I'm truly worried about your heart and what do you feel like is going on in this moment. But David, you were gonna say something. Oh man, Brian, you have a very unique way of bringing me out. I will say this. I'm not a pastor. My dad is, but I do understand that role and that calling and that podium and that pulpit is a huge responsibility, right? As human as these men and women are, that is an incredible responsibility. Partially one of the main reasons why I'm not a pastor yet, or let me not say yet before something happens. But with that responsibility, I think pastors are called to a higher standard of leadership and representing God's love to the people. And Jordan, you're absolutely right. That role is that of a shepherd, right? To lead and to guide their congregations into the way that God wants them to go. My dad has a saying that he says all the time, man, like it's over and over. And he says the condition of the land is directly related to the condition of God's people, right? And when you look at the landscape and the political climate, even like the land itself, right? Like its ability to produce, it can always be tied back to the condition of God's people and our heart. It starts like when he comes back to judge, he doesn't go out to like the sinners and like, you know, he comes home first, right? And he checks us and he checks our hearts and how we're dealing with these issues and how we're treating people, how we're standing up for justice and the oppressed and you know what I'm saying, and taking care of those in need. So when we see all this chaos going on, like whenever you point a finger, you got to remember there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. And I'm always just very, I don't want to say hard on the church, I'm very hard on myself in the state, the fact that we have a huge responsibility. Like it even goes back to that original question that you brought up about like white folks feeling guilty about being white. And I've never felt guilty because I mean, I can't change it, right? Like it is what it is. Like I can't jump out of my skin no more than a black person can jump out of their skin. But I do feel a huge responsibility as a white male in this particular day and age that I need to speak out. And not only do I need to speak out, but I need to listen. Like I need to understand. I need to, before I just start rambling and run off at the mouth, I need to actually sit down with my friends and my family that are black and be like, look, I can't pretend to know what it feels like to get pulled over and be terrified, right? I remember this one time we were on our way to a church retreat in North Carolina and we had to go through South Carolina, right? And I'm like the only white guy in my family, by the way. And my mother-in-law, they're in the car in front of us and I'm in the car with my wife and my kids. My wife she's black. And so my mother-in-law's in the car in the front. She's like, listen, Dave, we about to stop at this gas station. I'm gonna need you to go in and I'm gonna need you to act. I'm gonna need you to act right. I'm gonna need you to take that hat off. Like I'm gonna need you to go in there and get in and get out, right? So we can go. And but I don't know what that's. I don't know what that's like, right? Because no matter how accepted I am into the community, into the culture, I'm still white, and I can still get pulled over and be treated differently than one of my friends. You know what I'm saying? So I think it requires us to listen. It requires us to be informed, but then we also have a responsibility to do something with that information that we're consuming and listening to stand up for those who are being oppressed.
That is. There was a young lady who was fired from her church. I think she was the only African American at her church, only black in the church. And she posted something when all this stuff happened. And it's like, I know because I've seen it on my post that white people are like, they're frustrated when we post anything. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's educational or if we're posting something that just still says Black Lives Matter. They just become irate and frustrated. And literally, I've been told personally to get over it, enough with the race card already. They are wanting us to stop talking about this because it's uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable for everybody. But this young lady was fired because she posted something. And this was the church. How can you, it makes people not want to do or go to church or deal with church folks, because we're supposed to be loving God, loving people, be the feet and hands of Jesus. And we're really not doing that. You know, like someone posted and said, if you are self-driven, you will go far. Black people are not oppressed. The world doesn't owe you anything.
Okay, so here's what I got to say about that. All right, listen. So there are groups of people who are completely oblivious to the systemic racism and the actual systems and the racism that is like deeply embedded into some of the systems that we have in this nation, right? There are people that just are completely unaware. If you pay attention, if you dig a little deeper, you will clearly see, and I get it, the people in power that are aware of it and that use it and abuse it, they're like, oh my gosh, our secret is being revealed, right? We got to do whatever we can to like shine light on different things, like the politicians, the people of power, the people with millions of dollars, like that actually benefit from systemic racism, right? Because the moment black folks were freed, we're talking about an entire workforce that affected the economy, right? You think that they were just gonna let that happen? Like, so it didn't just stop then. They figured out and found ways to continue to oppress an entire people group with prison systems, with different laws, different legislations. And you can't come out and say it's racist, but it's still that spirit, right? That spirit of racism and hatred and bitterness that has been around since the beginning of time is still there. Like, it's still there. Satan will always find a way to reword it, use rhetoric, and disguise it. Like, Satan is gonna come right out and blatantly say, like, I hate you. Now, some folks will, but most of the time, Satan's greatest scheme is to get folks to believe that a sin is not a sin. And he'll use rhetoric, he'll disguise it, he'll hide it. And I really believe that that's like what's going on. But I think the difference now is that people are starting to speak up louder. They're starting to do things we're organizing, we're becoming more strategic to where it's like, all right, listen, like, we're going to blow the roof off this mug until something happens. You know, so I definitely think that we're on the verge of some real change, and we're seeing it, and just praying that we keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I do think that we're taking steps. We have a long way to go. And of course, we know this is not going to happen overnight. Nothing is going to change overnight, but we have to be in this thing together. We got to do it together. And it's sad that people, when Black folks are posting Black Lives Matter, you have Christians who are literally saying, but what about Black on Black crime? What about all this other stuff? You know, Black on Black crime. What about the abortions? And it's like really exhausting, because I think they're not getting the picture. But Byron, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, so I had a very good I don't want to say debate. I had a very good talk with another Black person about this thing literally a couple of days ago, and for me, Black on Black crime, yes, is an issue that needs to be addressed and handled for sure. I think the fact that we're constantly fighting for Black lives to matter, and then for some Black people to not care enough about Black people to go and to then go kill them is so disheartening, and I hate it, and we need to address it. And it's been going on for a while. We need to talk about it and figure it out, things like that. I think that the issue when it comes to Black on Black crime, I guess for me, I'm like, it is an issue. Yes, it needs to be addressed, but I'm not worried about if a Black person was to go and kill another Black person, if they're going to be arrested or not. Like, if Black people were constantly killing other Black people and they were constantly getting off, I'd be like, wow, that's crazy. Like, we need to make sure they really nip this in the butt. But if you do the crime, you're going to do the time. So yes, it should never happen. Like, it should never happen. I know there's places like in Chicago and other places, there's literally, Jordan was just telling me, I guess in Greenville, there was a young lady that got shot at a club or something like that and died. And just like, why is that happening? You know, and it needs to be addressed, but people got caught, they're going to jail. I'm not worried about that. So then when it comes to Black Lives Matter, I'm not necessarily worrying about the people that are dying, that are going to jail. I'm worried about people that are dying and then the people that aren't going to jail. Like, that's more what I'm worried about. Like, why is it that Ahmaud Arbery, those people weren't arrested until like it was a long time until those people were arrested. Breonna Taylor, those people still aren't arrested.
Mm-hmm.
So like the people that are doing the Black on Black crime, they gonna go to jail. I'm not worried about that. My brother, who's Black, did something wrong, and I don't even remember what he did. He did something stupid, but immediately he got caught. He went to jail. Like, there was no question about it. It wasn't like all right, let me try to see if maybe you can get out. Like, they were like, nope, you did something wrong, you're going to jail. And that's understandable. You do something wrong, you go to jail. You kill somebody, you should get tried and go to jail for it. Like, shouldn't really be a question. And when it comes to abortions, I think that I hate it. I hate it for women. I don't really feel like, I hate the idea, and I'm just being honest. I hate the idea of a baby like dying. I hate that, and I know that it happens. I know it happens in our world. Like, it happens. And so for every person, I would go to them and just say, hey, listen, I don't think you need to do that. I don't. But then I leave it at that. That's between them and God. I'm not trying to go out and change the whole world. I can't. I can go to that person and talk to them, love them through, and then move on to the next one. And I guess that's my whole thing. I can't go and change everybody's opinion. I can't go and change everything. The things that I can change, the things that I can't affect, when I come to that point, I go and address it. So when it comes to Black Lives Matter, yes, they don't matter, and they should. When it comes to Black on Black crime, it does need to happen, but we need to go and address it. But I'm not worried about those people because they're going to go to jail. So, yeah.
Basically,
John?
you say justice is being served. Justice is being served on that side, but over here we have a breakdown. We have a breakdown in the system.
I don't think anybody has ever worried about when a Black on Black crime happens if that person is going to go to jail. Like, I don't think anybody ever was like, oh goodness, I wonder if that person is going to go to jail. Like, never. It's never happened. But when you look at, I know some people that are in jail right now for like holding a bag of weed, and they're in jail for like 10 or 15 years. It's like, weed now, like, it's legal almost everywhere. Like, what? But then I know some white people that have gotten caught in the same thing, and they went to jail for a month, maybe 2, and they got out. So when you look at the facts, like, there's this Netflix documentary called The 13th. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. And it really showed, and it came out, I think, 2017. And I remember watching it and just being like, me being educated and just being like, man, I didn't realize how many Black people are even in jail, but also how the whole process of police and the whole process of prison came about. And there's a reason why majority of people in prisons are Black, and it's a huge majority. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Jonathan, you said something earlier, man, that was deep about the fire in the house, right? Like, it's like, listen, I get it. All the houses on the block matter, but right now we need this house needs some water. This house needs some attention, and I truly believe, Mimi, to speak directly to your comment. When people bring up those like other comments and they say stuff like that, anybody got kids on the panel? Anybody got kids? Okay, cool. I got 5. 20. Yo, I got 5. I got 5 of them little humans.
Ooh. Come on, David. Dang, y'all got a little factory over there. Come on, man.
We got started early.
Yes, sir.
We got started early, man. And I got my basketball team, and we ready to roll. But I'll say this: anytime, especially the older ones, right? I'll run up on like my daughter. She's 11, and she'll do something, and I'll start to like reprimand her or whatever, and we'll start to address it. But it never ceases to amaze me how she'll always be like, but Dylan was doing this, and I'm like, I'm not talking about Dylan right now. I'm talking to you, and we need to address this. Like, it's a diversion. They want to try to deflect the attention so that their punishment or the sin that is in them or whatever the cause is, they're trying to deflect the attention so that it doesn't seem as bad, right? But at the end of the day, bad is bad is bad, regardless of how bad it is over here. It's bad here. You know what I'm saying? So like, the enemy will always come in and try to like cause confusion and deflect the attention from where it really needs to be.
Well, that's what we've been talking about the last few days, is literally how the enemy, he's just out there waiting to devour families and people all the time. I mean, look at the division in this country. But it's truly, as a parent, right, what you were saying earlier, the pressure is on for us to really teach our kids, values and how you treat everyone equal. And you just don't do some of the things that you've seen other parents. You're just like, oh my gosh, I thought we were done with that. Like, I thought we have moved on, and you would be so surprised. But you have to teach your kids. It starts in the home, and you can't expect the school to raise your kids. You can't even expect the church to do it. It has to be in the home, like within the 4 walls. And you have to, be praying with your family and teaching them about the Holy Spirit and how to walk in it daily, so that the enemy doesn't come and sneak in and try to cause division and ruin families and things like that. I mean, it's all over. I mean, we could go on about that whole thing, I'm sure, for hours and hours.
And then
But
my thing is like racism. God, it's so deep. I feel like it's almost like a generational curse, literally on everyone. Because one thing that people don't realize is like my family's from Colombia, and my great grandmother was actually from African descent, and it's very common in Colombia. It's common to have like a blonde white aunt and then just a straight up African uncle.
Little jungle fever happening all over the place. I'm with you. I got you.
Yeah, it's just mixed all around. So my great grandmother was actually, they would actually lock her up and wouldn't let her go out because they didn't want people to know that we had African in our family. This was a long time ago. This is back in the probably 40s, 30s. She lived till like she was 90, 98 years old.
98, yeah, she was 98.
And anyway, so even in Colombia, even to this day, the lighter you are, the better you're off. Like you watch the people on TV, they're usually lighter. I mean, it's like that even in Mexico. Like I went to El Salvador to go play, and the TV personalities were blonde and they were lighter. So this is a worldwide thing that's been happening for a long time, and I think it's actually spiritual that it's happening now because it's like nobody even I just thought that was normal. Like a lot of discrimination has happened to me my whole life, and honestly, I didn't even think twice about it. Like I was dating this girl. We went to a white church, and the girl was white, and the pastor met with her family because her family was saying that we were unequally yoked. Just not even about that. It's about, two Christians being together. They wanted us to break up. They said that you can't mix the race. It was this big ordeal. And that happened to me in the 2000s, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, man, wow, that's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, I didn't even think racism was really, I mean, I obviously grew up in an amazing home and we just treated everyone equal. It was just not, I didn't think it existed anymore, to be honest with you. And so then when I married Jonathan and he got pulled over and he was calling me, it was horrible. And Jonah was so little, and he was like an infant. Like I had literally just had him. He was maybe like 6 weeks old or something. And it was like he was coming home from a late gig or something, and he got pulled over, and it was a big ordeal. I don't even remember every single detail, but I just thought, oh, that's still like, this is a thing. And I was totally just shocked.
Well, one of the reasons I got pulled over, just so it doesn't look like, oh, he got pulled over now.
Oh, yeah.
But when I first moved to our neighborhood, which is, a white neighborhood, I got pulled over 7 times. And one time I got put in handcuffs and they searched my car for weed. And I was
Come close, Jonathan.
I think the microphone is in Lauren's ear, so I think
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay away for a reason. I haven't shaved.
Oh my God. Stop.
But what I was saying is, so I got pulled over and got put in handcuffs and they searched my car for weed. And it was extremely embarrassing. It's in front of my neighborhood, and everybody, well, it was pretty late, but some people started noticing that I was getting pulled over all the time. And it wasn't, I thought it was just normal. And like even this conversation that we're having, even for me, it's been an eye opener. Like, whoa, this is a huge issue. And I think this thing goes so deep that a lot of people are used to it. It's a normal thing. And when something's uncomfortable, it means that change is coming. So this uncomfortable feeling is actually good. It's good because we are finally talking about something that we've been dealing with for centuries. And it's still going on in Latin America. I can only speak for Latin America. I don't know about the other countries, but I know it goes on there, and it's deep, deep rooted. And that's why I say it's spiritual, because I think it's like a demonic, the Bible talks about generational demonic spirits that follow generations. We have to start breaking that curse. I'm not trying to sound super churchy, but that's actually what we've been reading lately. And I feel like that's what the church needs to do. and we have to address this and break this curse over our world. So that's my
Yeah.
2 cents.
I was gonna ask this if I can, Mimi, to Jordan, her being the one of the white people. David, I didn't know you're white, so that's great. But Jordan, Sean is also so glad to see you. About time you got some Wi-Fi, thank God, hallelujah. No, you're muted. No, you're muted. We can't hear you, Sean. Please, all right.
This is Teddy Riley up in this piece.
You know, Teddy. But anyways, I'll ask this really quick. But to you, Jordan. So I guess for me, being black, like growing up, I just was taught not to do this, not to do that. I didn't know it was racism until I got older, but I was taught to do certain things certain ways by police officers, by white people, whatever. For you, Jordan, being white, were you taught about racism? Did you learn about it when you got older? Did your parents try to say, hey, listen, like, you know, like black people aren't weird, even though some people in our family might think that? Or like, what was that like for you growing up?
Well, a little backstory on me. The first 13 years of my life, I was raised pretty much predominantly around white people. And then my parents at 14 became the site pastors of an all-black church. And so from 14 until now, my world completely flipped upside down, and I was submerged into an African-American community for the past, since I was 14. And what I discovered growing up is that when you're growing up around all white people, and I had said this on another podcast, it for me and my community, it wasn't about what I was taught, it's about what I wasn't taught. And so as a white person, no one ever told me to, we don't like black people are less than us, we are scared when black people come into the room, we don't do this, we don't do that. It's what wasn't said. Nothing was said at all about it. So as a child, when I'm developing my psyche on how I view people in those developmental years, if nothing is, if no one's making the efforts to make sure that I am processing correctly about how we should view people, then I'm just grabbing at things. So like I use the example, we used to have a van ministry at the church that I went to that was predominantly white. And me and my uncle, I was probably like 7 or 8. He would pick me up, and we're both white. And we would get the van. We would go pick up the kids for church or people for church and bring them back. Well, everybody we picked up was black. And majority of them were black children. We never picked up any white people. So, and this is just an example. If no one explains to me why, then I'm thinking as a child, I'm thinking, do black mothers not want to come to church with their black children? Why do we only pick up black children? I'm thinking, do black people not have cars because we're only picking up black people? And that's not the truth. The truth could have been that maybe this mom was working that day and had to work extra hard to put food on the table. She's a single mom, but she's going above and beyond to make sure her children still get to church. But that's not taught. So as a kid, if you don't see mom and daddy having black friends in the home and actually eating at the table with people that are not their race, you begin to start selecting your friends to be all white. And so I feel like for a lot of people around me that were growing up, it was about what wasn't said. It was almost like the elephant in the room. And, you know, on the van as a kid, it was kind of almost like we're helping black people. Not black people are bad, but they need our help. And so as a child, you think you're doing a good thing. Like, oh, we help the black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, they feed us. And that is just the most backwards, most wrong thinking, you know? And so it went from a time of, you know, black people being the help to black people needing our help. And now we're in this time where it's like something has to change because the mindset that has been developed for years and years and years is completely off. And I feel like when I turned 14 and completely started actually, as we say, doing life, I only had really black friends in my life and in my daily circle. And that is when everything switched for me to where when something affected them, something affected me. because that's my friend, that's my sister, that's my brother. I'm personally involved with this person. I've helped bury their parents. I go to the movies with them. I have deep conversations with them about their lives and who they like and who they don't like. It's not just a girl that I pass on my way to work every day and I say hi, and that's the extent of our relationship. So I think that for me growing up, it wasn't that what was taught to me is what that was avoided to talk about, and it's created this repetition. And so I think that it's so important to be intentional with the way we're raising our kids. I feel like for me, my call here recently over the past couple of months has been to speak to specifically white people that are in my generation and people that I know that were raised like me, talking to moms and trying to help them understand that, like we were saying with the example with the house, and if that house is on fire, we need to attend to the problem. And like you were saying about your children, you know, if you have kids, if one of your child comes to you and says, I need help, I'm dealing with this, you're not going to look at them and say, oh, I can't help you because your brother may think I love them less if I help you. And so that's just backwards thinking. And if they were good brothers and sisters, they would be like, no, please help them. Please give them all the attention they need until they are whole, healthy, and they feel like they are
jump in and help too. Like they can jump in and help too. Like
exactly.
I'm trying to get Jordan gave this analogy the other day. We were kind of talking about it. And she said literally something just like this. She said food. She was like, as mothers, right? Like when you have two children, and if one child is hungry, you don't go and say, okay, well, I'm going to feed the other one. No, you go to the child that's hungry and you feed that child because they need something. It's not that you don't love the other one more or less, but you're going to make sure you're meeting the need of what the other one has. You're not just saying, oh, I don't care if you're hungry because all kids are hungry. So I'm going to feed him because I don't care if you're hungry. No, child needs you. It needs you because and you can provide food, or you can provide and you can help the needs of that person. But I don't know about you guys. I think it's all time for us to hear from Bishop Sean Flowers Wyatt. Come on.
Why did you lean back to bring me into this conversation, Byron?
The fact that Byron just like called you out. But Sean, we are so glad to have you.
Yes.
Listen, I'm glad to finally be here. It is with the help of my amazing husband, because I was you know what? I don't know what to do. I don't like, basically it could be because I only have an iPhone 7.
Oh, Sean.
I know.
Your phone won't even compute.
Listen, I was busy watching everybody on Facebook Live clear as day, but every time I tried to get on this StreamYard, my phone was like, it's not working.
Your iPhone 7 said, David, your iPhone 7 said all lives matter. I'm not putting
David.
All phones matter.
David let me get on his wonderful MacBook Pro, and now I'm with you.
There we go. Come on.
I'm so glad to hear from you, Sean.
What would y'all like to hear? Much has been said. I'm so glad in the midst of difficult conversation, we can still share and laugh.
Yes, Byron was talking about the weed. No, I think that was Jonathan or Byron talking about the weed issue. And I'm like, I don't know why it's an issue. Why it was an issue back then? I'm high now. I've been smoking weed since I've been talking to y'all.
I've never smoked weed.
My pastor is online, guys.
It's okay.
Oh, my bad, Byron. We have
Byron, what's your question?
I was just glad that you were here. I mean, I can come up with a question. Okay, Sean is a person that has a diverse friend group. Everybody loves Sean. Everybody is a friend of Sean. Ever since the Nooch days when she was when she was poking out her lips and I had it trending and everybody was doing that. So Sean, as a person that has a good group and mix of friends, how do you talk to your white friends about what's going on that have questions? How do you talk to them? How do you address these things with them? I had a friend that told me about their mother and their white. She said that her mom didn't like how she felt pressured to post something about George Floyd.
So she was like, I don't like to feel like I have to go and say something because I don't want to say something. And then she said, now Byron, as my Black friend, I don't know what to tell her because I think she should, I think she shouldn't. And I said, tell your mom that every time she posts on social media, she posts about what she cares about. So if you don't care about Black lives, you probably aren't going to post about it or even address it. Like if you don't truly care about people in your world, you care about what you post about, what you care about. You care about your kids, you care about your church, you care about your job, you care about whatever most of the time. And so if you don't care about this, you probably aren't going to post about it. But for you, Sean, your white friends that have questions, I'm sure you've had some that call up and ask you, what do you tell them about and how do you address them during this?
All right. I thank you for the question, Byron. It
You're
was a loaded question, and I have several answers for the same question. And seeing as how this whole hour and 7 minutes and 4 seconds has gone by without me saying anything, I'm gonna just take my time and walk y'all through this word. No, no, for real. Let me address something within the question, which was you telling the girl to let her, you telling your friend to let her mom know you post what you care about. This may come to a shock, like as a shock to people, or make people feel some type of way. But I am not here to try to gain any more friends or followers. So if what I'm saying is offensive to somebody, I'm okay with that. But this is my truth. I haven't done a bunch of posting intentionally around the subject matter of racism. I have not. And it is not because I do not care. And I am Black, and I have not posted a lot intentionally. And for the people who say, I don't feel like posting, I don't want to feel pressured into posting, I feel like I get you. I understand. If you don't want to post about it, it's okay, because there's so many ways that you can be helpful in this time. There's so many ways you can be effective in this time. Posting is just one avenue, right? But for some people, like for instance, your friend's mother, maybe her thing was, I don't even want to have to deal with the back and forth on social media that may come as a result of me posting. So it may not be that people don't care about the matter. What happens is we make it seem like, oh, if you're not posting on social media about this, then you don't care, or you're not doing your part. But there's so many parts to be done. So it's like, okay, if you feel compelled, I don't want you doing things because you feel forced. That's not the poster. That's not the person I want to post. If the post, if you're posting out of feeling like I'm required to do this. And I don't mean to sound like preachy or anything, but the same way how the word talks about God like loving a cheerful giver, whatever you're going to contribute to this thing, contribute it out of love and what you want to do, not because you feel an obligation. Because what's coming out of that feeling of obligation is not going to be genuine compassion, genuine love, genuine concern for the cause. So maybe people's thing might not be posting. Maybe it's having hard conversations, which now that's my thing. I'm all about the hard conversations. So as far as to answer the question about how do I have these conversations with white people, that's not hard for me, because the conversation piece is where I feel like I'm most effective and where I feel like I can articulate and you can hear my tone, you can know where I'm coming from. Versus if I decide I'm just going to post something, you may not know the tone of that. You may not, you know what I mean? Like that. I don't want to sit here and type back and forth with people. I'm not doing that.
Right.
Like, so that's why I'm not going to post a whole ton of things, because I'm not going to sit here and respond to all of the people who are definitely going to respond to me. Like you have to kind of know, okay, if I post something, people are going to it's going to require some interaction, and maybe I don't have the time to commit to that, or I don't have the wherewithal to be sitting here typing. But if my phone rings, if I overhear a conversation, if I'm in a room, or if, like this is an opportunity to actually speak on a thing, then okay, this is where I'm going to show up because I feel passionate about doing it this way. So I feel like in this journey, this fight for justice, for equality, for love of all people, we all have to operate and move in the place that's most suitable for us, the area that is most comfortable for us. Some people are more inward, and like having one-on-one conversation is extremely uncomfortable for some people. So am I going to knock that person down because they shy away from conversations? No, I'm going to say, okay, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe the peaceful protest and showing up and being present and seen in the group moving, and standing for something makes you more comfortable, and you're able to express your concern and passion for the cause that way. And that's great. So I think we shouldn't be trying to push people and make people feel like this is the way you need to show you're in support of us as Black people. You know what I mean? As Black people, I don't think we need to force our white friends to post or force our white friends to go to the protest or listen, if I'm like, look, okay, if you don't want to post, cool. Let's just have an ear to hear what Black people are saying. This is what I tell my white friends. Be willing to hear us. Be willing to hear our frustration, our pain. Be willing to hear history. If I'm telling you, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to my brother. This is the story that my grandmother told me. Listen and be open to being educated about what's going on. You can have compassion. You can have empathy. You know what I mean? But as far as forcing people to be connected to this in a particular way, I'm not really a fan of that. So, but for me to having the conversations with the white people, that's not really a hard thing for me. I think if you approach the conversations in love and with honesty, and you help and you don't back a person into the corner, like if you kind of let them know, like, listen, I would rather us talk about this than us not be friends anymore. Like, I don't want you disappearing out of my life or me cutting you off or canceling you doesn't always equal a positive thing. It doesn't always equal a solution. So let's hear each other. Tell me what about your upbringing, and then I can maybe understand why you think racism doesn't exist. Like,
so,
you know what I mean?
So to what you're saying, so I'm with you, right? And I agree that if you're gonna feel pressured into it, don't do it. But I think for what I was addressing to her was because knowing her mom and knowing that this person always posts about their opinion anyways, like I would expect that from you because I know you, right? Because I know how you are, and I know that you are okay with the one-on-one. And I guess for me, for people that are already vocal on social media, and then for them to go and say, well, I don't want to feel pressured into doing it, so I don't want to do it. I guess what I said to her was like, one, why do you feel pressured into it if it's not that, I guess, big a deal for you, then why do you feel pressured into it? Then if you feel pressured into it, is the reason why because you actually just don't want to even address it. You don't want to bring it to light, because if and when you do post about it or even talk about it, you're then having to have those hard conversations. So you really don't even want to have a hard conversation about it. You don't want to address it. You want to make it seem like it's not a big deal, so then I'm pushing it under the rug. But I definitely agree with you, though. I don't think anybody should ever make anybody feel pressured into doing something, or even like, and I agree, like posting is cool, but like that's like a small percentage of the battle. You know what I mean? And
I'm not even saying it's small. I think it's significant. But I think if you're a person who can communicate yourself in a post in a way where it can actually be received, where somebody can be made aware, where somebody's gonna, you know what I mean, actually be able to receive from that post, then post away. You know what I mean? Some people are very good at posting and formulating, posts in a way that's like, okay, yo, I felt that. Yeah. But I don't want your guilted attempt to address the issue. If you're not moved to post, please don't, because what's gonna come from that? What's a forced post? What is that gonna do? What is it for the person themselves? Like, deal with your own heart, lady, whoever friend mom is. You know what I mean? I'd rather if you don't want to do it, if that's not your thing, then don't do that. You know what I mean?
Karen.
I'm just
Karen.
like, let's just be honest, because the truth is, change has been being made little, you know what I mean? There have been certain things that have changed, and things are different, and you know, our ancestors and people before us have fought for things that are now in place. So some things have already changed. I don't want to make it seem like the work that has been done was for nothing, because a lot of things have changed, and of course there are more things that can change. I don't really believe that like racism is ever going to fully end. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's a hard thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, we all need to continue doing what we can to become aware, more aware of each other, more aware of not only just the Black race, but every race, so that we can begin as a world to embrace and love and learn and appreciate the differences. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I think that's important. And I'm not one of these ones running around here with the whole all lives matter thing. But what I'm saying is, love is a powerful thing, and you can't just change people's hearts overnight. So it's a continuous journey, but some of the ways that affect hearts is a loving and learning and appreciating and getting outside of your own little box that we can live in your own little neighborhood, and like, you know, venturing out and talking and all of that stuff. I think there's a place for that. I think there's a place for the people who are able to communicate things more aggressively and deal with things on a government level, and all of the things that are happening, I feel like need to be happening. And I don't think that one is any more valuable than the other. I think we need all of that stuff to continue in the effort of the changes that need to be made systemically, and just overall addressing hatred in this world. All of those things I think just need to continue.
That's Sean. That's super dope. Thank you for that. I like to always read some of the comments and questions that people have on here. So Adam has a question for the panel. He says, for every 100 hacking at the leaves of evil, there is one hacking at the root. What does hacking at the root look like to you guys? Anybody?
I think was that Adam Blair?
Yeah.
Of course it was. I think I think Sean came through in the clutch and kind of addressed that question when she said that love is a very powerful thing. You know, we can hack at the leaves, if you will, but I think that as believers, and like going back to that quote earlier, you know, the condition of the land is directly related to the condition of God's people. This type of spirit, this type of hatred, evil, racism, this type of demon can only be cast out by prayer and fasting, right? We also have to realize that that this battle that we fight is not against flesh and blood, right? Mm-hmm. It's against the spirits and the powers and the principalities of the heavenly places. So we have to be aware of where we are fighting and what we're fighting against. Now, does that exempt us from actually dealing with the things of this world? Absolutely not, because I know people that will take that and run with it, and they'll be like, I'm just gonna pray it away, right? Like, no, okay. There's gotta be some work too. But I think that is where the root is. That is where, like, God is literally the only one that can change someone's heart. You cannot legislate sin. You cannot legislate love. You can try your best to protect people with laws and politics and rhetoric, but at the end of the day, like, if it's a sin issue, God is the only one that can change the heart. And I think that as we, you know, make our appeals to heaven,
that's when we'll start to see hearts change. We'll start to see people becoming more open and receptive to having those difficult conversations that actually lead to real lasting change. So I mean that's definitely where I see the root.
So we've been truly interceding and praying for the Black community and actually worshiping the Lord and then going deep into prayer. That God do a breakthrough in the African American community in the United States. And for all of our Black friends who are truly struggling, we cry out like, Lord, please, heal their hearts and get to the root of what's going on in their lives. And God, you care about every single person in this whole world. Like your world is his world. Like he really does care about each of us. And so getting to the root and hacking the root would be literally interceding and praying on behalf of so many of our friends and people that we know that are struggling and they're hurting and they're in so much pain, and obviously also praying for forgiveness, and checking yourself, like, do I have any unforgiveness towards people, or am I a blessing to those around me? I want to be known as a blessing and not a curse. I want to be known as somebody who lifts people up, not tearing people down. And so it's just really, really important that each person takes a moment to evaluate themselves and realize racism is a problem. And just saying those words right there can bring forth so much healing in people. Just that acknowledgement that it's there, just that right there, it opens the floodgates to so many conversations and wonderful things and healing happening within a whole generation. And I know God can do it. He's doing it. He is doing things. He's moving, and we just have to be on the right side of things. And I want to be where God is. I want to be where he is. I want to move where he's moving. I want to have his heart for people. And if they're hurting, I want to be praying for the group that's hurting. And right now it's the Black people in America, and I want to be praying for them, and I want God to do something just amazing. And I'm believing for it. I believe it's going to happen.
Man, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this too. I forgot to say this. I gotta say it. I hate to be that guy, but I gotta jump in. And I think we see a lot of things being done, right? We see a lot of great gestures in compliance, you know what I'm saying? And acceptance. We see like people painting Black Lives Matters in the streets, which is great. We see like the NFL, saying that they're going to sing the Negro National Anthem before every game for 1 week, right? But that's cute, right? We appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, can we get like Colin Kaepernick his job back? Can we arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor? Can we do something for real? I see a lot of people that do things that they are okay with and comfortable with, that they can tolerate, that's comfortable. But at the end of the day, the root, like in the words of Toby in the Wigway, can we arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor? So anyway, yeah, I think that absolutely, like a lot of this stuff is going on. We see people doing things that are okay, that they can tolerate, but they don't want to do the real work, which is where folks are demanding justice.
Yeah.
Wow. Charles said this. He said, it seems to me that it'll all depend on the tolerance of racism in the nation. Every generation is becoming less and less tolerant of racism. I believe that this generation we're in is the breaking generation, meaning things in our system are being exposed and torn down by us. The next generation will have to lay new foundation so that things can be built. The next generation will build on that foundation. He said, this is my opinion, but I believe that God will work within his time. It could be sooner. Great point, Charles. That's good.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And Jared says, all show no substance in these actions. This is what Jared said. Okay.
I think that kind of goes to what
David was saying about people doing right in Black Lives Matter and doing all this stuff, but not giving the justice that we're demanding for Breonna Taylor, and not doing the hard things, but just doing kind of like things to sort of like pacify the Black community or whatever, doing what's comfortable for them, but not necessarily giving, the justice that may be asked.
Yeah, I think that goes right to what Sean was saying, just like doing gestures out of like a check mark. Like, oh,
yeah, I don't want that.
Like this company gave, a couple million, great. We did this or we did that. Okay, cool. But it's not really from the heart, because if it was from the heart, you'd give somebody his job back, or you do this or you do that. And so I'm with you.
I think say something real quick.
Huh?
There is something else too that I want to share, but I'll wait until I'm allowed. What's going on now?
No, you're allowed. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, okay, cool. And this may seem, I don't know, this may seem kind of like, what? Or how does that help? But another thing, as I said, because I racism is going to be around, like, it's going to be around. And that's not just, that's just not something that just affects, that's just not something where it's just like, oh, only white people are ever racist or whatever. Racism itself, that is something that just exists in our world, and we can do everything we can to try to make it better and fight it and all of those things. So in attempts to address racism, I think I want to say this publicly, that for Black people, one of the things I think is very important for us as a community, as we deal with racism, is to continue to promote the appreciation and love for our people, our culture, and what makes us unique as a people. I think it's very important. I'm kind of one of these like creative people that does all kinds of different things, right? So one of the things I do is hair, Black hair. And so in that, I have conversations all the time with little girls, mothers, teenagers who are Black, but in themselves have a certain dislike or insecurity or self-hatred towards themselves, which stems from some things that this may not get talked about often, but I go back to this often in these conversations and even in conversations with white friends about some of the forms of oppression that happened to our people in during the times of slavery, and some of the ways that Black people were kind of taught and trained to kind of be against each other and not have a love for our people anymore, in which over generations this stuff gets passed down, right? So it's like an oppression from the inside, like that's, you know what I mean? And I guess I maybe have to get some examples of this kind of stuff, but basically in a nutshell, I just know that it is very important for us as we are trying to fight racism to really, really show love and for each other and for what we have as a people, and teach that to our children, so that we can rise, continue to rise up and to continue to even do things like, okay, if racism is going to stop us from having the same caliber of jobs and all of those things, or we're not going to be given seats on the boards of these major companies and all of that stuff, then we got to continue to teach our children and encourage our children and people to establish businesses, become entrepreneurs, do all of the things so that we can continue to give each other opportunities that maybe we don't have those equal opportunities all the time in companies that are perhaps, fully white led or whatever, those types of things, teaching our young girls that, yes, you are beautiful. We come in all different shades and sizes and textures of hair and all of that. Putting that love in place, even within, is another way to deal with the racism that will come from the outside. And that's, again, like what I was saying before, that there's so many ways, so many things that need to continue to be done and different things to help fight against racism. But the teaching our people to really love themselves and know what is unique about us in the experience, teaching, learning about the history, learning about the effects of slavery and how that affected each generation after that within the Black community. What are some things that were embedded in our people that our great grandparents and stuff passed it down, and it's still coming down, and we're still looking at ourselves that way. All of those things are things that I'm super passionate about, and I've seen how those types and forms of oppression also have been really hurtful, even to this current generation. But they don't know where it's from, and a lot of times we'll want to have better for ourselves and maybe move to nice neighborhoods and have our kids in the best schools. And you do all of that because you want your child to have an equal opportunity. As a Black person, we're like, all right, where can we move to? What can we do? What school can we go to so that our child has a better chance, right? But in doing that, somehow we've taken our children away from what is culturally like the Black experience per se, and taking them out of places where they're going to be around other kids that are like them. Now we're putting them in a scenario where they're the minority, and they're getting treated differently. So in being treated differently, now they're like, I don't want to be Black. Like, I would rather be, it's easier to be white. It's prettier to be white. It's whatever, because they're not seeing the love as well for our people, our culture, our history, and all of that. And we don't want to teach kids. People don't want to talk about slavery and stuff. Like, it's over, just let it go. But these things, talking about these things and learning about them, learning about the history and stuff, is just another way, to help try to deal with what's going on. So I'm just hoping that we don't just, as the generations continue on, I just hope that it's like stuff like slavery and all of that doesn't just disappear to where that nobody cares about it anymore. Because if you follow that trail all the way back, you can see where a lot of things still stem from, even within the Black community, even with things like, it's just all kinds of stuff. I hope anybody is getting what I'm saying about this. But yeah, it's I mean, stuff
I don't want to like jump in and make it too long. I just do want to say I get it. Even as a white man, I have mixed children, and I have to sit down. It's weird, like, to say this, but I'm raising Black men, right? Like, how do I do that as a white guy? Thankfully, I have a father-in-law who's Black, grew up in Fifth Ward, and is a pastor now, and can come right alongside of me, and you know what I'm saying, and help share those experiences. But I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, look, just because you're mixed, like, society is going to see you as Black, right? Like, don't think you can just like play to your white side. You know what I'm saying?
No, pause. You have to pause. I have to say this. I'm so glad you said this. I didn't know that you have biracial children. Just in case anybody else hears me on this that is biracial, here's what I want to say to you, David, and it is so crucial. I've sat down again. Mostly my clients are mostly young girls. But biracial people, this is another thing that people might be like, what? Biracial people, they inwardly almost have it harder than Black people. Now, here's why. Because they're not Black enough for Black people and they're not white enough for white people. And their parents don't even understand them unless the parents are biracial. So as a white person,
let me tell you,
like you'll never understand what it is to be biracial.
She get more love from her Black side than she do from her white side. And it's not like direct racism by any means. It's just that like my in-laws are just loving, right? They love, and there's obviously there's more people on that side of the family, but yeah, it's
listen,
so
we
true.
can rabbit trail on this thing, but I'm telling you, I would encourage you to do is really do some research and some study around having biracial children and how to communicate to them about the fact that they are in fact both. And the bottom line is, as like sometimes we'll try to push them to one side or the other, or they'll feel pressure to push to one side or the other. But the thing is, they are absolutely both, and it is wrong to try to navigate them away from one or the other, versus teaching them about the differences of both and that they are in fact both, but they are totally different. If you have one white parent and one Black parent, neither one of your parents has the same hair as you, this texture. They don't really know how the heck you even deal with this biracial hair. At least as a Black woman with a Black husband and a Black child, I understand the Black experience. But once these two races come together, now we got something that's like, we've created something that each person doesn't even fully understand. You know what I'm saying? So my heart goes out to all biracial people, because I've seen their struggles and had many conversations and had to talk several people off the ledge about why they want to just only identify as Black. No, you're not just Black. You're not. You don't understand my experience as a full Black person, and I don't understand your experience as a biracial person. But accept both sides of who you are. So I think that's very, very important for parents of biracial children in the fight against racism and stuff. Please don't accidentally make your children hate one side of themselves.
Because at the end of the day, that is a part of them. Like you said, you are white and you are Black. Like you are both, and you can't hate one and not, or love one and hate the other. You know what I'm saying? Like it's you're 100% human. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So that's something we definitely got to deal with when we're dealing with racism, because these biracial people are trying to figure out, well, where do I stand in all of this? In this fight against racism and stuff. Should I shut down my white side so that I can stand with the Blacks, like the Black side, or what should I do? And instead of learning, like, no, learn about both sides of who you are and both sides of your lineage, and have love for both of those sides, and learn love. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to like decide you're gonna just cut off all things white because you're biracial and you want to fight for justice for the Black community.
Yep.
But what
that's
about those?
So good.
Like I love that, because that's real good, and I'm glad that y'all talked on that, because listen, I'm mixed with Indian, right, and white and Hispanic, and
Indian as in Native Americans.
All Black folks are mixed with Indian. You know.
Are you talking about Native American Indians? We're on a public conversation. Anybody can come to this table. I know you want to be Cherokee so bad.
Listen, no, like what people don't realize is I'm Black, white, and Hispanic. I love all people, but I'm more Black because I'm brown. I'm chocolate. I'm caramel. So what do I do? Because I don't know how to relate to the white folks or the Hispanic folks. You didn't know that, Sean? I was mixed.
No, but here's the deal.
I'm just joking.
No, because I'm like, we can talk about it. We can really talk about it.
You know good and well I'm all the way black, straight from the hood.
Listen, I don't know that.
Dude, I am all the way black.
All I know is here's what has helped me in my journeys of love and appreciation, and to combat racism, even, so that I don't become racist. You know what I mean? Because some of this stuff could have you like, every now and then as a black person, you can watch a movie, the wrong movie, and just be like, you know what? All these white people make me sick. I swear to God. Just what? This is the truth. This is the real truth, right? So even within ourselves, we have to, keep the stuff in check, and especially now, like, oh, you know what? If there's no, yeah. So in that, what has helped me is truly making it a point to be intentional about learning about other cultures, other nations, even other communities, and learning what the differences are, so that I can appreciate and value those differences and see what they are, and not try to be like, oh, I just don't see color. We're all the same. Because the truth is, we're not all the same. We do things differently. Cultures do different things, even geographically, based on where you're from, even just within the United States. People up north, I moved here from the north, from Pennsylvania, and I'm originally from New Jersey, and I came down here to Texas, and I see this whole situation down here is way different. So just getting to go move around and see and learn and have conversations and learn about people's differences has helped me really, truly in my journey to love people. And I was talking to somebody else, a friend of mine before, and speaking about, for me, how it's like flowers, like, people who are in the flowers, you can look at how much differences there are in flowers, like how God just made so many different types of flowers and colors and just, you know what I mean? They're so vast, and we don't just decide, you know what? I only like roses. That's it. I am not willing to even learn about anything else. Like, we can look out and look in the world and see all the different species of animals and trees and everything else, and want to learn about them and want to learn about their differences, and how do you take care of this breed of a dog versus this breed of a dog, and what did this plant like versus what this plant likes, and who needs this much sunlight. And we learn about all those differences, and that is how we learn how to best care for anything else but people. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at all the things God created, there's so many types of all of these different things, and we've taken it upon ourselves to make that forms of study and learn all of this stuff. But then when it comes to people, we don't do that. But that's what we need to do. That we really need to see the differences and learn about them, so that we can learn, how do we best communicate with each other? How do we best love on each other? What makes you feel love versus me feel love? Like, for instance, this may sound funny, but personal space. Now, white people, don't get mad, but y'all know you can talk kind of close. You get right up on us. You can be right here with it. And it's like, hey girl, what's going on? And this is really comfortable for y'all culturally. But for black people, give us this right here. Give me right here. This makes me feel comfortable. This makes me feel loved and safe. When you're right here with it, I'm like, oh my God. And if you're me, and you get right here on her, she's thinking, if one speckle of spit hits me anywhere, I'm going to just die. But again, learning those cultural differences, right? Those little things, they seem like little things, but they help us better communicate with one another, have relationship with one another. Like, I'm sure, David, if you're married to somebody that's black, I'm assuming, or your children's mom is black.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm sure you've had to learn some things about the black people, like about us as a culture, when you go spend time with her family. Like, you just know it's certain things that culturally are not the same as perhaps how you were brought up, you know, like, and it doesn't make anyone better than the other. It makes us different and unique. But if we spend time to learn those things and be intrigued by them and want to know the cultural differences, then it helps us better to be in relationship with one another. So I know, all right, when I get with my white friends now, they don't mean to make me uncomfortable by being right here. They don't mean anything by it. Like, so that I don't get
your hair too. They're close, and then they try to touch your hair, and that's just like you just can't do that. But anywho, no, the only reason, Sean, that I stay
when they have dog phobias. Dog phobias?
Yeah.
Who's that? Mimi?
Stop.
She's got a dog phobia.
No, only for certain dogs, bro. I have a dog, but it's just certain dogs just, you know, anyway, that's a whole different story. The only reason why I stayed on here is because Sean was really struggling today, and she was really having a Teddy Riley moment. And so that's the only reason why I stayed longer, because I definitely wanted people to hear what Sean had to say.
I'm coming
and
back.
I really appreciate you guys. I gotta bring you back now that you're on David's laptop or whatever. We're going to bring you back so you can experience the opening, because I don't even think I got to introduce nobody. You just messed me all up, Sean. I was joking.
You know how the old folks, the old church says, it's that devil just that technology demon.
He in the airwaves.
I really want
in the airwaves.
Sean, we didn't even come through. You know how when we get together, we always got to come through before anything. We didn't even get to do an open act or nothing.
Well, we can do a closing act now. We can come through. That's not a problem.
Come through.
I know Byron wants to come through.
What am I doing?
Oh,
hey,
Byron.
well, for Sean and now we come through all the time. It don't matter if we're in a store. It don't matter where we at. We come through. You can be on the phone and we having a conversation and we just stop the conversation, just come through. So Sean, go ahead on real quick. Show them how to come through real quick. Go ahead.
No. Now Erica Bruce said, please don't come through.
Erica, she said, don't come through?
Yes, I see it on Facebook. She said, don't come through.
Oh, but see, you got haters like that. You can't look at that. Ignore the haters, bro.
You should give the people what they want. Candace said, come through. Candace?
And guess what? Candace is white. You see what I'm saying? I love you, Candace.
Y'all, this is about to be a full-on cipher, and here's how that goes. Mimi, I need to help orchestrate this moment because I feel like your production skills are about to go down the drain. So here's how the cipher is gonna work. Kathy said, come on through. So here we go. This is officially the Let's Talk About Racism cipher.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Now, we're going to start with Mimi, right? And we're going to go around. Yeah. So Jonathan and Lauren, you're going to be second. And third. So Mimi is going to give a few rap lines freestyle, and then y'all are going to don't run from it, Lauren. Don't run from it. Now you got on this with your black friends, and this is what we're doing. So
all I got to say is No,
Byron. Look, Jordan is ready. I see this game face. Okay, Mimi, you get 10 seconds. Jonathan, 10 seconds. Lauren, 10 seconds. Then David, 10 seconds. No, it's not. 10 seconds is so short. You can spend it doing if you want to, but then we're gonna laugh at you. I'm gonna go after David. Lacey. I'm gonna go after David, and then Jordan is gonna go 10 seconds, and then Byron.
What are we doing? But what is
we're gonna freestyle rap. Don't worry, Jordan. By the time it gets to you, you're gonna know what it is. Okay, you're after me, Jordan. Don't run from this. Don't run from this, Jordan. Don't run from it. Okay?
I'm passing to David.
No. We're going Mimi.
This must be from Brady Bunch.
No, this is gonna be so much fun. Your best race freestyle. 10 seconds.
Your best
freestyle.
I'm passing mine to Kim McQuitty.
Byron,
Jonathan.
And this is very
Mike say that this is your time to shine. So you want to play drums all the time. You need to shine, bro. You need to let people. You have more than just one gift. Bro.
Said me neither.
Let people see that. You know, and I'm just saying, bro. I have not done this on any other panel. I'm gonna tell y'all, I have not. But I'm telling you,
today
like, it's just something.
Let's go. Stop making excuses. Stop making.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. All right, here we go. So you said it got to be about racism?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're doing, because that makes it make sense for why we're doing it on this.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Man, I'm about to. Oh, I love this moment. Woo! Here we go.
I really.
So I'ma come through, and you know it's going down. Man, hold them up, and you're from the H time. Man, stop the racism. Man, stop the hate. Oh my God, y'all, it's getting late.
Jonathan.
My name is Joe. I like to flow. I like fruity pebbles in the big, huge bowl. Hey, I'm about to get some fresh tamales. Man, I better run like Speedy Gonzalez.
Yes!
The cops.
Lauren.
Don't laugh, Byron. You're next.
Lauren.
Okay.
This is gonna ruin her career, guys.
No, it's good, Lauren. It's good. This is good. The people love it. Come on, Lauren.
Sean is into it.
My name is Lauren, and I don't know what I don't know.
Do your best, honey. Do your best.
My name is Lauren, and I'm here to say I hate racism. Yeah, hey.
Oh my God.
That's good. You know what? That is good.
Wow.
Literally, I'm done.
No, you did great, honey. It's like on family. Good answer. Come on, David. Come on, David.
Come on.
Oh man, here we go. Here's my best J Mac attempt.
Come on now, do it for your black kids.
Man, oh wow. Oh, they gonna take after the white side today. Here we go. All right, here we go, y'all. Here we go. Man, it's going down. We done been on the call for a couple of hours talking about racism. Where is the power? I gotta go take these kids to bed, or else my wife's gonna be serving up my head on a platter, because she gonna splatter my brains all over the street. So y'all need to let me go before I don't get to eat.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Okay, my turn.
This is get in it. Come on.
This is their dreams are coming true.
At my prom.
I'm passing mine to David Wyatt.
No, Byron.
No, you're not.
David Wyatt is on there.
Where's Dakota?
Excuse me, it's my turn, please. I would like silence as I need to get in the zone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Sean Flowers Wyatt trying to get in the zone, because we all sitting up here in our homes talking about racism, black and white. What's up with that? Y'all know it ain't right. They be hating on us, trying to box us in, but I'm boxing out because I'm going to win. Now, listen up, kids. Listen up, adults. Don't come at me with no corny insults, because you'll get beat down to the proverbial ground. Ain't no hitting, but I ain't quitting. This girl is over here chilling, just sitting. Now it's time for Jordan. I know you got the lyrics. Come on, Jordan, baby girl. Yo, let's hear it.
My name is Jordan, and Black Lives Matter. I date a black man, and it makes them matter.
Yeah. Hey, Byron, do not outdo you.
Come on, Byron.
I date a white girl. Yeah, I love her so much. People be mad, but I don't care about they touch. Up on the phone and we talking about racism. Better watch out, or we gonna hit you in your cranium. Hey, violent.
Right? Woo!
Wow.
Man,
I got it.
Woo, yes.
Y'all all true. You about to get off this loud. Ooh, man.
I'm going to sleep.
I love
Thank you, Mimi, for
Probably one
having
of the most embarrassing.
Thank you, Mimi.
of my
Thank you,
life.
Sean. I love you, Jonathan. Nice to meet you,
Love you
David.
too, brother. Love you guys.
Y'all,
Love you, bye.
first of all, Sean, let's take us out in prayer first before we, please. But that was awesome, and we have fans.
the stuff. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Mimi, I'm so glad we got to come through with you. And,
come on.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your panel today, even though I was like crazy, like connection late and you know, whatever. Y'all can make me happy if you want to. Huh? All right. Mimi, did you have anything you want to say to the people who are watching before I pray us out, or we should just go ahead and pray?
No, when you pray, we just gonna end it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining the convo. It needs to continue to happen. In order for change to happen, it's small, but it's huge. It's small, but yet huge. I know that probably don't make sense, but thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. For y'all that took time out of your schedules to be a part of the panel, thank you. Every week, I'm so appreciative to people who are on this panel. Seriously, I joke around a lot, but I really, really appreciate it. This is just my regular page, and I had no idea that I was going to do this every Thursday. I thought it was going to be that one time, and it's been happening every week. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. And Sean, take the flow. You gotta go. Man, hurry up. Don't you know?
We're going to wrap this prayer. That's all you have to say. I will wrap this prayer in Jesus' name. In the Holy Ghost.
In Jesus' name. It's off the chain in Jesus' name.
Point me for something. That is what you put the expectation on God. He shows up every time. Now I would just be.
People are already sending me my rap.
Yeah.
You guys.
I mean,
are you serious?
No, I'm never going to live with that. I'm telling you right now.
Woo!
I love
That's
it.
hilarious.
Right, let's pray. Let's pray. I love you. Okay. Can we all bow our heads, close our eyes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Lord, honestly, God, we love you. And we thank you, Father. We thank you, God, for being who you are in our lives and who you are, just period. We thank you for your grace, for your mercy, and for your wisdom, God. We ask, God, as a people who are concerned, all of the races and people who are actually concerned about racism and justice and equality and love, I pray, God, that you would give us individual wisdom and instruction, that you will order our steps for how to make moves that would have a positive effect and that would help to bring about continued change within systems, in organizations, in companies, in communities, in schools, in homes, in families, and just help, God, aid us all in how to walk through conversations and help us to figure out how to best move and live during these difficult times. Help us to continue to be protectors of our own peace, and so that these times don't cause our minds to be broken and our hearts to be broken in a way where we become hopeless. Because, God, we know that hope deferred really does make the hearts sick. So I pray, God, that in the midst of us pushing for changes and hoping and praying and interceding and protesting and posting and talking and fighting and signing petitions and going before legislations and all of that, I pray, God, in the midst of doing all of that, that we do not lose hope, that we would find ways to maintain our hope, maintain our joy, maintain our peace and soundness of mind, so that we can be more effective in this fight, God. We thank you, Lord. We thank you for just being with us and guiding us. And we thank you for Mimi and her heart to affect change. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Amen. I don't know if I should feel some kind of way, or if we all should feel some kind of way, because Carla she's gonna be like, okay, Sean and Jordan were the only ones that bust out a flow just now. I don't know if I should be upset about that or what, but it's all good. I'm not gonna trip. I ain't gonna trip, because I know
Sean and Jordan had practice.
Here's what's important. Let's learn how to celebrate others without diminishing your own value.
Oh, come on. Yeah, bye-bye.
I ain't trying to hear that. I ain't trying to hear that. Not tonight. Carla, you wrong for that. All of us over here freestyling. You don't just call out 2 people? What the
Maybe
heck?
you did the same one you always do.
Dude, nobody, they don't know that, Sean.
Maybe every time I and
Let's
people,
do the salsa version. Let's do the salsa version. Let's see what y'all got now.
yo, habla español. Okay.
Oh my God. No. But anywho, thank you guys so much. I love y'all. Peace out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace. This was awesome. I enjoyed y'all. Bye.
Thank you for having us, Mimi. Love you.
Yeah.
Bye.
That's fine.